Namaskar. Today I am going to take you on a journey to Mandesh. You have perhaps never heard of this place, but it is right inside Maharashtra. The districts of Satara, Sangli and Solapur along the river Mand are called Mandesh, the region where the people we are going to read about today once lived. In the 31st episode of Granthayatra, we are going to discuss the book Mandeshi Mandse or the people of Mandesh. A warm welcome to all viewers. Venkatesh Madgulkar, the well-known writer of short stories in Marathi, originally belonged to the village of Madgul in Mandesh. He wrote 18 collections of short stories, 8 novels, 8 plays, 8 books of non-fiction, a travelogue, an autobiography, and translated 5 books. Of these, he is most famous for his short stories. Along with Gangadhar Gadge, P.B. Bhave, and Arvind Gokhale, Venkatesh Madgulkar was a pioneer of the modern short story in Marathi. He liberated the traditional fiction from the grip of fantasy and dreamlike illusions. What exactly was this new form of writing, you may ask? Well, a focus on characterization rather than on incidents, simple language used in day-to-day life, and a unified impact of emotions are the characteristics of the modern short story. Venkatesh Madgulkar's short stories have all these characteristics. More importantly, he was the first writer in Marathi to write about village life. At the time, many people living in cities, especially the poets belonging to the Ravikiran Mandal, mistakenly believed that village life was ideal and romantic. Venkatesh Madgulkar dispelled this belief by writing about the hardships of the life in villages. His collection of short stories Mandeshi Mandse was published in 1949. Each story in this collection is based on a central character. These characters are the common people that the author had met during his childhood in villages such as Madgul, Atpadi or Kundal. Thus these tales are also in a way autobiographical. While leading their ordinary lives, these people from a cross-section of the village society had unknowingly instilled some fundamental values in the writer's mind. Madgulkar's affection for these people and his respect for the tenacity with which they lived their life is palpable through his writings. In the very first tale, we meet Dharma Ramoshi. Fair and well-built in his youth, this tribal man is now old and frail. He has no strength for laborious work. His married daughter has returned to her parental home and the father-daughter duo don't have enough to eat. They scavenge the woods for roots and leaves which they boil and eat with a piece of bread. When the writer learns about this state of affairs, he informs his mother and she assigns the work of milling the flour to Dharma's daughter so that she can earn some money. But every day it is Dharma who arrives to take away the grains for milling and brings back the flour. It is only at the end of the story that we learn that his daughter doesn't have even a single decent piece of clothing and that prevents her from stepping out of her home. Despite such destitution, Dharma never complains, nor does he beg for help. Madgulkar writes, "We make the ends meet somehow. Sometimes we boil sweet potatoes or carrots and that's what we eat. Yesterday when you came, my daughter had collected some edible leaves from the forest. We boiled it with some salt and ate it with a piece of bread. We have been reduced to live like cattle by eating leaves and grass. It's very bad, very bad." Dharma said this from the bottom of his belly. I felt very sad. This old Ramoshi who had served my ancestors has been reduced to live on boiled leaves and I had no inkling of this. In the second tale, we meet the naughty Jelya. Madgulkar takes up a short teaching assignment in the village of Nimbavde. There he meets Jelya, who habitually skips school and spends his time fighting and messing around the village. Jelya, whose real name was Jalandhar, stood clutching his shirt at his neck for the buttons were missing. He was quite lanky, not much older either, about 13 or 14. He was wearing a dirty white cap on his head and a spotted dirty handloom shirt that was patched up on his sleeve. His shorts made from rough cloth and having red checks matched his shirt. The pockets on either side of his shorts were bulging. They were probably full of tamarind. Instead of caning him like the other teachers, Madgurkar establishes a communication with Jhelia. He kindles in his mind a liking for learning. This unexpectedly kind treatment makes Jhelia respect his teacher. He begins to help the writer in small ways to show his appreciation. In his teacher, he finds a guide to answer the innumerable questions rising in his mind. Madgurkar too develops an affection for him and is convinced of his intelligence. When Madgurkar's assignment comes to an end and he prepares to leave Nimbavde, Jhelia is heartbroken. He pleads to take him along. In the end, he accompanies his teacher till the village boundary and breaks down when saying goodbye. Not only the writer, but the readers too are touched by his emotion. In a later tale, we meet Bakas the Mulani. The way his original name Allah Baksh changes to Bakas after the death of his parents, his life too becomes an unending saga of hardships. His uncle brands him as a fool and makes him work hard on the farm. His aunt doesn't give him enough to eat. I found Bakas pushing the plough and shouting da da at the time of ploughing of the fields. When it was time to sow the seeds, he was there holding the fist full of grains over the sower. Mulanki's black spots of earth turned green with seedlings. As they grew, corn ears burst out of stalks. They blossomed with blue-purple flowers. The seeds formed. I heard the shouts of Bakas who would stand on the scaffolding and scare the birds away. Later, I also spotted a hut in Mulanki's fields. Bakas was now burdened with work. But his sorrows do not end even after all this hard work. Towards the end of the story, the ever-smiling and talkative Bakas is found pale and sitting alone. With his eyes brimming with tears, he shows the author his back burnt by his uncle with hot iron. In the next tale, Venkatesh Madgurkar paints a word picture of the graceful Banya Bapu. This talkative gentleman still holds on to the signs of his erstwhile wealth and lives in a dilapidated but huge house in the style of a village chieftain. He always welcomes the author to his home in great style and with genuine affection. Following Mahatma Gandhi's assassination, Banya Bapu's house is burnt down. Yet, he does not give up his pride. He builds a shack in his fields and lives there with his widowed daughter-in-law and a nephew. Venkatesh Madgurkar was also very fond of sketching and painting. Living in a village and because of scarcity of resources, he was not able to pursue his hobby. But his skill once fetched him the work of painting milestones on the road. His assistant in this work was Rama, the milestone marker. Rama, who belongs to the cobbler caste, is dark-skinned and ugly, but pure of heart. Despite his extreme poverty, he is happy to support his widowed sister and young nephew. Once, when walking towards his village, Madgurkar meets his childhood friend Nana Mang. Madgurkar is happy to learn that because of his father's encouragement, Nana, who belongs to a caste at the lowest rung of the society, has completed his education and is now working as a school teacher. The writer again meets him after a gap of several years and is astonished to find him working as an artist in a dance troupe. He has given up the respectable but boring job of the school teacher and chosen a profession that suited his inherent skill of singing and is happy with his choice. This book has a variety of characters. Just as it has the cunning and heartless Kondiba Gaikwad, who kills a buffalo in a fit of rage and murders his brother because he cannot get along with him, it also has the dutiful Shiva the gardener, who works as a peon at a school but under the influence of his friend the goldsmith and frustrated by poverty commits a robbery. Not only does he have to spend time in prison for it, but his family life is destroyed. The book also has the shrewd and dishonest Shiva the cobbler, who loots the houses of upper caste villagers following the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. Similarly, it has the character of the hard-working and self-reliant widow, the Khala of the Tamboris, who has great affection for children and lives by humanitarian values. The lives of the people of Mandesh are full of hardships and sorrows because of the drought-prone terrain, a long history of poverty, and the absence of the means of education and employment. Yet, these hardy people take on every day as it comes. They live their lives without complaining. We may find the circumstances of their lives hard to believe in today's complex age of materialism and communications. But the lives of the people in most villages of India around the time our country got independence was quite similar. Take for instance the story of Raghu the clerk in this book. He loses his parents while still in his childhood and is brought up by his uncaring elder brother and his wife. He struggles to get basic education but manages to find the job of a clerk. His responsibilities increase after marriage and he toils to feed his family. His stress reaches peak when he begins to suspect his wife's fidelity and attempts suicide by consuming opium. The fate of Bita Kaka is similarly heartrending. The writer's uncle Bita Kaka is very fond of his nephew. He is a good-natured, meticulous man who works as a police constable at a princely estate. When his wife falls seriously ill, he cares for her without complaining. After independence, the princely estate is merged with the Republic of India and Bita Kaka loses his job. His life now turns more despairing as he has to live as a dependent on his brother. But unexpectedly, happiness enters his life with the birth of his son. However, a couple of years later, his baby son dies following a short illness and Bita Kaka is devastated. His grief is so overwhelming that the writer is unable to find the courage to meet him to offer his condolences. From all this description, you should not assume that the life of all characters in this book is depressing. The writer describes the hardships in the lives of these people objectively and depicts how these lives were meaningful because of the humanity and values cherished by these people. He shines a light on a kind of satisfaction that these people derived from their lives. But the real fun begins when reading about some of the more colorful and amusing characters in this book. For example, the tale My Father. Although this is narrated in first person, this tale is not autobiographical but a tale of the son of an extractor of edible oil. It is a time when smallpox is raging in the district. The vigilant teacher of the child sends a letter to his father urging him to get the child vaccinated against smallpox. The child's father knows how to read and write but does not believe in vaccination. He refuses to get his child inoculated and states this in his reply to the teacher's letter. The teacher and the father are firm in their beliefs and their correspondence in their effort to convince each other makes hilarious reading. The child's mother is more practical and realizes that if her son is to be educated, the teacher's advice has to be followed. So she secretly gets the child inoculated. Another amusing story is that of Gana Bhaptya. This well-built fellow is very lazy. He refuses to work on the family farm but dreams of making a quick buck and enjoying the luxuries of life. He is forever waiting for someone to come and teach him a mantra for getting rich. Following the advice of a snake charmer, he visits a nearby town and buys a book of magic. How he makes a fool of himself while trying out some of the solutions mentioned in the book of magic is worth reading in the original. We have with us today Professor Madan Kulkarni, who will tell us more about the characteristics of regional literature as represented by Mandeshi Mandse.
व्यंकटेश दिगंबर माडगूळकरांचा माणदेशी माणसं हा शब्दचित्रांचा संग्रह 1949 मध्ये प्रकाशित झाला. माडगूळ, आटपाडी, किन्हाई या क्षेत्रामध्ये ते रमले. गावगाड्याच्या विविध जाती जमातीशी त्यांचा संबंध होता. ते व्यावहारिकदृष्ट्या कमी शिकले असले तरी जगाच्या शाळेत बरेच शिकले होते. तळागाळातील ग्रामीण जीवन त्यांनी जवळून पाहिले. त्याचे प्रतिबिंब माणदेशी माणसं या शब्दचित्र संग्रहातून पाहायला मिळते. लग्नानंतर ते मुंबईला गेले तेव्हा श्रीपू भागवत आणि ग रा कामत यांच्या खोलीवर राहिले. त्या दोघांच्या आग्रहावरून धर्माद रामोशी आणि शिवा माळी यांची व्यक्तिचित्र त्यांनी प्रथमतः लिहिली आणि पुढे मौजमधून ती प्रकाशितही झाली. त्यातूनच पुढे माणदेशी माणसं हा संग्रह प्रसिद्ध झाला. या संग्रहातून आपल्याला ग्रामीण जीवनातील बलुतेदार, भटके विमुक्त तसेच कृषीसंबंधी कार्य करणारी माणसं आपल्याला भेटतात. या माणसांची सुखदुःखाला समोर जाण्याची, संकटावर मात करण्याची आणि अभावग्रस्त जीवनातही पाय उभे राहून राहण्याची इच्छाशक्ती, उमेद, मुकाट्यानं अन्याय सहन करण्याची वृत्ती लक्षणीय वाटते. गरिबी, हताशा, पैशांचा अभाव, तरी त्यांना जगायचं आहे. ही माणसं म्हणजे जणू काही नियतीच्या हातची खेळणीच. व्यंकटेश माडगूळकरांना वैयक विधिनिषेधाचं दर्शन घडवायचं होतं. आपण भाषिक कृती करायची तर हीच. लिहिणं हा गंभीरपणे करावयाचा एक सांस्कृतिक व्यवहार आहे, याचं भान त्या वयातही आपल्याला होतं, असं माडगूळकरांनी प्रवास एका लेखकाचा मध्ये नमूद करून ठेवलं आहे. या शब्दचित्र लेखनामागे त्यांच्या संवेदनशील मनाचा वाचकांना सतत प्रत्यय येतो. जीवन आहे तसं स्वीकारणारी पात्र यात भेटतात. तशीच मास्तरकी मिळत असताना नामा गणासारखी पात्र, तमाशात रमणारी माणसंही इथे पाहायला मिळतात. तांबोळ्याची खाला ही मुस्लिम असून हिंदू रिवाज पाळते. बाबा खान परदेशी अस्वलाला खेळवून जीवन जगतो. मुलाला अस्वलापासून सोडवतो, पण त्याकरता जबाबदार बायकोला मारतो. अस्वलाला मारत नाही. नायक आला म्हणजे माडगूळकरांना तो म्हणतो, बायको दुसरी मिळेल हो, पण शिकवलेलं अस्वल कुठून मिळणार. म्हणजे माणसापेक्षा प्राणी त्याच्या दृष्टीनं महत्त्वाचा. माणदेशी माणसं विविध जाती धर्माची आहेत. जातीबंधने सर्वच पाळतात. दुसऱ्याच्या, विशेषतः लेखकाच्या जातीचीही ते काळजी घेतात, पण जातीद्वेष तिथे दिसत नाही. माडगूळकरांच्या भाषागुणांमुळे व्यक्तीची म्हणजे माणदेशातील व्यक्तींची चित्रमयता वाढते आणि ती जिवंत वाटतात. इथे माडगूळकरांच्या मीचे व्यक्तित्व अनेक अंगांनी प्रत्यक्ष समाजजीवनाच्या पातळीवर भिडते. सांकेतिकता आणि स्थिरता यांच्यापासून ते दूर राहते. इथे माडगूळकर दर्शक नाहीत, तर त्यांना जे दर्शन घडले त्याचे ते साक्षी आहेत. जीवनातील हे कारुण्य माडगूळकरांनी कलावंताच्या अलिप्ततेने टिपले आहेत. त्यामुळे ह्या माणसांना आपण विसरू शकत नाही. वाल कुलकर्णी, आनंद यादव, माना आचार्य या समीक्षकांनी व्यक्तिचित्रण शब्दचित्रणातून मी अवतरू शकतो असे मानले. निवेदनाच्या प्रवाहात हा मी कधी सुप्त असतो तर कधी प्रकट होतो. या केंद्रस्थानी येणाऱ्या मीमुळे अनुभवाची स्वरूप निश्चिती होत असते. अनेकांगी अनुभवांना रूप प्राप्त करून देणारा पारदर्शी असा मी आपल्याला इथे दिसतो, असं यादवांनी म्हटलं आहे. शब्दचित्रात भावनात्मक प्रतिक्रियाचे आविष्करण, प्रसंग रेखाटन, कथात्मक पद्धतीचे निवेदन अशी अनेक रूपं हा मी स्वीकारित असतो. याचा अनुभव आपल्याला माणदेशी माणसं वाचताना येतो. मुक्त गद्याचे हे अनोखे रूप इथे पाहायला मिळते. माना आचार्य यांनी अशा स्वरूपाच्या लेखनाला गद्यलेखनातील मुक्तछंद म्हटले आहे.
The readers of Mandeshi Mandse get an opportunity to experience the life in the villages of Maharashtra 70 years ago in an authentic manner. It provides a genuine experience of the then social life, the strict caste rules prevalent at the time, the feudal system that governed various occupations in the village, and a lifestyle closely associated with agriculture. Dharma Ramoshi does not ask for help unless prodded, even when there is no food at his home and no clothes to wear. Rama the cobbler does not touch the writer's food or the water in the well. He drinks from the canal in the field. At the restaurant, Nama Mang is given a separate cup and saucer specifically reserved for the untouchables, even when he is now a schoolmaster. The good-natured Banya Bapu doesn't think twice before hitting a Dalit with his shoes till he bleeds. Madgulkar depicts this reality without reservations. The people characterized in this book are the simple village folks who wear patched handloom clothes and eat plain bread with basic condiments. The performance of the village acrobat and the village pageant are their only means of entertainment. Sufficient food and enough clothes to cover their body is the limit of their luxury. And yet, these people stand with each other. This is the time before the means of travel, the city life, the social reforms had reached the villages. Do read this book to understand the circumstances that gave rise to today's civilization. The circumstances that were created by the tenacity and hard work of our ancestors, and to experience the intimacy and warmth with which Madgulkar describes the village life. Tell us, how different do you find today's life in villages from what is described in this book? Next week, we shall meet to talk about a novel that gave a new direction to Marathi literature. Until then, keep reading.